the socialists. Famously, I had an argument with a socialist. It was one of the political party. And they told me, what do you mean milk comes from the grocery store? And I said, yes, but where does the grocery store get it? They said, what are you talking about? It's at the grocery store. And I went, oh my God. Wow. So there's layers to think there.
Supply chain, idiots. The grain you need and the grass you need for your cows.
Not just that, but people are massive. Like, a farmer doesn't just milk a cow and send it to a grocery store. It gets sent in a big vat to a processing plant, which gets sent to a bottling.
And you need refrigeration. You need 1,000 things.
So that is, if you are right now noticing the economy is not working, are you the kind of person who's going to sit down, research what's going on, a couple hours, not anything crazy, and then try and make a plan? Or are you someone who says, someone should just give it to me?
Yes.
Because the just give it to me argument doesn't actually work. And anybody who Google searched it for 10 seconds would be like, look at Rhodesia. Oof, we shouldn't do that. That's not going to work. Yeah. South Africa doesn't work. They're like, we don't care that Rhodesia is just literally next door. Yeah. We're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, do you ever hear the story about how many people it takes to make a pencil? Just lumberjacks, the amount of coffee for the lumberjacks to get the wood, then the graphite and the mining, all the food. I mean, it is a massive. It's like an ant colony. Everybody's got 1,000 jobs, and people don't take into account what it takes to handle the electric grid.
Technology is not based on how smart we are becoming. It's based on how many people we have. So as long as you can produce excess food, it's actually, you produce excess food, it results in excess people. Excess people do things. So there's a bunch of different theories about why human civilization got to where it is. One of them is that when humans migrated to the Mediterranean, where it was typically good weather with lots of food and fruit everywhere, eventually they just laid down. So it goes like this. Humans migrated all over the world. They end up in Northern Europe. It's very cold. Nomadic and seeking food and resources, they end up in an environment where for at least 30% of the year you will die. So what happens is the people who don't do work die, and the people who work extra hard survive. Then when these people move back south, once again, because humans migrate, you end up with the people who had evolved to work more than they needed to in an area where there was an abundance. So what do? They sit back, put their feet up, and say, I need to do something. So what do? They did math.
They invent philosophy.
Yeah, they start thinking about the world, start thinking about math, start calculating the circumference of the earth. And then they basically start conquering everything. But don't get me wrong, the Muslims were doing way more conquering than the Europeans were for a while.
Speaking of which, Europe, and especially the UK, I'm shocked at the amount of arrests for people liking posts, viewing posts. But I'm also shocked that our mainstream media doesn't say it that much about it. And I think it's an outrage. I mean, because they agree with that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. And they always have. It's wild. And why it's shut down is actually easily discernible to anybody who's looking at. But if you only read CNN, the Washington Post, and NBC, and it's intentional. Why? Because once you understand the argument, you have the Republicans. And so it's like this. Say we won't sign up on that. Not unless illegal immigrants can get health care under the ACA as well. Now hold on, that's the argument. The Democrats came out and said, we never asked that illegal immigrants get health care. That's a ridiculous lie. CNN says it, all the mainstream news outlets say it. Why? Because in the definition, if a person enters the country illegally, the moment they arrive, if they shout the words asylum, they are now a lawful resident. They are now lawfully permitted.
Yes.
And so now
they also get, I think, Social Security number so they can be tracked.
TIN.
Now, by the way, your kids then are eligible for public schooling and medical care.
Yep.
So those are by law. And one of the things that Milton Friedman said is that when pre-19, I think 32, we had open borders, but here was the difference. We didn't have a welfare state. you had sort of a fence around those services. People, he's like, you came here, you better make it on your own.
The government shut down, so a lot of services are basically frozen because a budget was not passed. Certain Democrat votes because they could not do it. Because Democrats, in the simplest term, the Democrats have a provision in their bill that would grant refugees, asylum seekers, and DACA recipients access to Affordable Care Act benefits. Republicans said no, because for the past 4 years you brought up between 10 and 20 million people illegally, and then claimed they were here illegally. Democrats are going, that's fine. Republicans are going, they want to give 10 to 20 million people who enter the country illegally health care. If you actually look into it and see, if you look on the surface at like John Oliver, these kind of shows where a lot of liberals get their news, they're not being told what the argument is. So I tell liberals, listen, if you believe that someone enters the country illegally and at that moment says, I need asylum, and that is granted ACA benefits, just tell me that's what you think. Stop trying to claim that this is an issue of green card holders versus, illegal immigrants running rampant and committing crimes.
Right.
So we can't afford to do this.
It's also important to realize that, you're not making a difference in the world with those 20 million people anyway. You have to make their countries have to be places that they want to stay in. You're never going to be able to solve the problem by bringing a tiny, tiny fraction of the 5 fucking billion people who live on, I don't know, $2 or $3 a day. You're not going to change a thing in the world. You're not a do-gooder at all.
To put it simply, you can't replace a mid-level insurance company manager with a Haitian farmer. And so
I want to ask you this because you're your guy. I always seem to think makes so much sense, and I just love that you always kind of take all comers on. You've always been this way. You're not afraid to be disliked. You're not afraid to be. You're combative, but you're also, but you know your shit. And
I'm wrong a lot.
We're all wrong a lot. Right. And by the way, that says a lot about you too, because we're all wrong a lot. It's very easy to be wrong. But if I made you emperor of the world, like what are the first 3 things you would
I ban cilantro from food. I should just capital.
I hate cilantro. I can't eat cilantro.
I'd have dudes in green uniforms go to Mexican restaurants and then be like, where is that?
There it is, my Joe cilantro. No cilantro.
No, in fact, I am totally fine with people enjoying things that I don't enjoy. If I woke up, okay,
you're emperor of the world, not an president because you can't do a thing and everything gets adjudicated, but I make you emperor of the world. The 3 things you see as the biggest problems with this fucking country.
It's the biggest problems.
I might be able to lead you down. Let me be even more specific.
Yeah.
Would you do something about campaign finance? Like how?
Pharmaceutical?
No. Okay. No. How about social media?
No.
Okay. So that's okay. This is good. So you would not change anything about
the reason I asked you to read the question is because I wanted to make sure I had the premise correct. If you were to ask me if you were made emperor of Earth or the country, what would you do? The first second, very small. I know all those.
That's so much that you said. Like George Washington said when they said we want to make you king.
He said, hell no.
He said I didn't fight this war to become George II because he fought the war against King George. And he was so smart about that. Because that's all people's leisure.
Well, there actually is.
That's a great answer.
Well, there is no answer. So, right now, one of the problems we have is Dana White with these people who have insulted, smeared Charlie Kirk, losing their jobs. Dana White is wrong in his reasoning.
What did he say about it?
He said something to the effect of, I'm a free speech guy, I don't like cancel culture. These people that have, been criticizing Charlie Kirk are losing their jobs. We can't have that. In fact, it's the other way around. We can't have people saying these things.
Correct.
Because a society that venerates assassination and can be assassinated has opened the door to war. Now, I have a lot of people, liberals, try to excise from political discourse conservatives, right-wingerians, conspiracy theorists. It does not work. You cannot do it. You can't erase an economy overnight. And that economy is, Alex Jones. He's not going anywhere. He will always be Alex Jones. His name generates traffic, even if they ban him everywhere. Now, they can hurt his business, they can attack him, but censorship doesn't work. There is only actually one thing historically that stops a parallel moral structure, government or otherwise, which is genocide. So if you look at Egypt as a good example, I was there during the second revolution. So in 2012, protests in Tahrir Square, the Mubarak government collapses. They hold elections. The Muslim Brotherhood wins with a minority position, and I believe Morsi. Did they bring Sisi in? I think Sisi was the military guy after, right?
No, he was. But Sisi was an Islamist. I think they brought him. Pretty sure.
I could be wrong. It's been a long time.
Brought in for what?
So after Hosni Mubarak, who was the president, the elected president?
Can you help me with the name? Hasn't
Sisi.
No, just this year, president of Egypt.
2012.
Yeah, like president of Egypt, August 2013.
But go on, finish your point. Sorry.
So so they had the first revolution, and they brought in whoever it was, and within a few months it became him. So it happened a plane. It was Sisi, or Sisi's now. Yeah, Sisi was I think Sisi was after Morsi. Yeah, Morsi was the second revolution. He was ousted. Look up President of Egypt, Morsi, and maybe see if
I think Morsi was a representative of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right, and then he won the first election.
Right, and Sisi came in.
Yeah, he was ousted on June 30th of June 2012. Oh, no, he came in on 2012. He left around the 4th of July. So I was there, and when did he? July 3rd, 2013. That's when he left. Yeah. So after the first revolution.
There.
Was it?
Yeah, he died in prison.
Oh, yeah. Check this out. So they have a revolution. They have an election. The Muslim Brotherhood wins. Morsi is named president. July of 2013. I am there in Egypt at Tahrir Square, and we're all like, the government is going to collapse. Everybody can see it. The reason why is that after the first revolution, my understanding was a relatively Islamist nation. Not nearly as much as Muslim Brotherhood wanted it to be. But they had something like 7 political parties. The Muslim Brotherhood won with around 20% of the vote, which was bigger than any other party. This is new. Whoever gets the most votes wins. It's only 20% of the country. So 80% of the country protesting the government. And so the protests weren't stopping. The protests in Tahrir were getting crazier. And the military decides, you know what? This isn't going to work. We already had one revolution and election. The Muslim Brotherhood is going to win every single time because the secular parties disagree with each other and will fight. They figured out the solution. They started massacring the Muslim Brotherhood to reduce their voting population and put it.
By the way, which they were doing in the 50s. I mean, the Al Qaeda was born in torture chambers and because the Muslim Brotherhood started in Egypt, and so they've been fighting this war forever. Remember, Egypt, Israel, we give Egypt a tremendous amount of aid to the tune of it's easy, astonishing number. So it's interesting that we give both Israel and Egypt a huge amount of military aid.
Yeah, it's funny too. Plus I don't want to get too much on the Israel stuff, but Egypt and Israel border Gaza. Let's just you asked me what if I was emperor. We've had this conversation over and over again, and I've had people on the right say we need to start censoring these people to let them know that the vision of assassination is not acceptable. And I agree. I don't think that'll make the coming conflict or the current stop. But what I have to say is, if society tells murderers you will be successful by murdering, you murder.
That's right. That's exactly. I was going to say you take the profit out of that behavior. Yeah. And I do think boycotts work. I think that when you see somebody having no common decency, and being just a piece of shit like that and celebrating the death of somebody for all Charlie Kirk did, let's be honest, was talk. And by the way, if you listen to him, which I have, feel like he was uniquely cruel. You're a fucking idiot. But at the end of the day, he was killed for speaking. I think that the right has done a pretty good job of saying, look, if this is the way you want to behave, which is atrociously, and celebrating murder and wanting more of it, we're going to tell your work.
I feel like still too many people aligned with the right don't understand. Trump's victory is responsible thanks in part to people like Dana White. But Dana's not a political guy, and I don't expect him to be. He's just a friend of Trump's and likes this. So I don't chastise plumbers for knowing more about plumbing than the state of the world. That's what I try to do with my job. So you are going to run into powerful people who don't know what time it is. And they'll say things like, listen, nobody should lose their job and get banned or whatever for saying these things about Charlie Kirk. And my response is, principally, you are correct. Is this the path you would like to go down? I have no problem if you want to. I am not your king. I will simply tell you what will happen. Luigi Mangione is accused of killing Brian Thompson, shooting him in the back. He was celebrated. They made sainthood candles of him. They made T-shirts. They talk about how hot he is. They dress up in Luigi costumes. And less than a year later, Charlie Kirk is assassinated. And they celebrate. And we've got to follow a fucking stitch.
By the way, it's true. We do, and the left is this way. I was saying that we have to, if you are traditional on the right of center, whatever you want to call yourself, and you are going to sort of take on the left this way and criticize them, which you should, and they're just so inconsistent, and it's impossible to apply what they say at the level of detail. You know, you think that it's okay to sterilize a child. Okay, great, dude, because you're saving that child's life. Okay, then you can't even apply this shit. It makes no sense. I think it's really important for us to hold ourselves to a very high standard. So what I mean by that is, yes, it was terrible when people celebrate. Trayvon Martin's killer, George Zimmerman, is signing Skittles and selling his gun for $250,000 and signing autographs at gun shows. That's gross too. So hold ourselves to the same fucking standard. You know, it's about. I wear them all the time.
Dude, I went on date night the other night with a run for them.
But they're full class and they're comfortable. That's the main thing. You can use them for work. But it's not like you have to break them. They're so comfortable. Yeah, they're amazing. For you, let me keep you in some celery. Listen, Eric Gerard grew up blue collar. Started front workwear after his friends in the trade stopped listening and had to change in 100 years. And a lot of it's like the heavy stuff. Stuff is the same kind of quality and durable, but not as it doesn't beat you down. I'd have to break my hand to cut it, blade,
The insoles are fantastic. I'm telling you, I like sneakers. They like sneakers. Alright? And right now, for real time, you guys get $10 off of Brunt. When you use the code Fighter at checkout, just head to bruntworkwear.com. That's BRUN. You're good to go.
Trump was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. They built something better, which ain't the comfortable bill for a job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off up front. When you use code FIGHTER at checkout, just head to Brunt, BRUNT, workwear.com. Use the code FIGHTER, and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor. Tell them you heard from us.
Best boots ever.
The function, you're completely correct. I would say the functional difference in Zimmerman is Kirk. There's only one witness because Kirk died. But Zimmerman was injured and then shot. And the response from the right should be, we're so sorry this young man died. That's just it. That's it. You know, when George Floyd died, every conservative was like, oh, this is terrible. I can't believe this.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the first thing you said.
and then you find out that he was chewing a speedball behind the wheel of the car, resisting arrest, and we say, okay, I'm still upset that he died, but Chauvin should be in prison for this.
Yes.
Well, by the way, I was going to ask you about that because did the coroner rule it not a homicide? At first, he did rule it a homicide.
I think there are two. I think there was a medical examiner who said, it's been so long, man. I think there were two.
There's two of them, though.
The official report from the government was, it was something like oxygen deprivation of the brain, complicating police restraint or something
That
like
was the one that came to the public.
Yeah.
Right. And there's another one that was fentanyl.
But he said I can't breathe when he was sitting in the car.
because that's probably fentanyl.
Yes, and so then he gets pulled out.
I think he had a speedball on him. The cops are going to pull him out.
Official conclusion, George Floyd's death was a homicide.
Cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement subdual.
What is this, Google, Jen?
That is correct. That quote is correct, though.
John says COVID.
Wait, what? That's hilarious.
He did have COVID. So here's what I think happened. He used counterfeit bill, got reported, sitting in his car. The cops come up to his car. He pops a speedball in his mouth because better to eat it than get caught with it.
Yeah.
And then starts overdosing slowly over time. Here's what I want to try to explain to who don't know what time it is. I want you guys to imagine that you are walking down the road just outside of here. You see a chubby 5'10" guy with a weird mustache gripping a little boy by the collar and trying to pull his pants off while saying he's going to do awful things to that little boy. You have a gun.
Yeah.
You scream, stop. He says, fuck you. And then he whips it out. What do you do?
Shoot him in the fucking face.
How do you feel?
I feel good and I sleep well. I have a nice hot meal and I sleep fucking well.
That feeling you have right now is the feeling the left got when Charlie Kirk died. And when you look at that pedophile about to rape a child, that's how they feel about you.
But that's because they're dum-dums. Here's why. Because they're dum-dums. They haven't taken the time to listen to what he said.
Oh, it's time.
They're not even familiar.
It's time, Jim. It's fucking time to go.
I always say you should know if you disagree with somebody, then know what their argument is. Really talk to them and hear what their argument is.
Let me ask you another question. You are walking down an open field in West Virginia.
I love these questions.
They're great, right? You hear screaming. And so you look over, you can't really see, and you run. And eventually you clear the wild grass, and you're in a field where a black is chained up, and a white guy is whipping him while laughing. You have a gun. What do?
I go like this. I go, fuckface. Drop your whip, or I'm going to put a hole in your face and enjoy it.
And he says, fuck you, he's mine. And he whips him again.
Well, then I got to do it. Here's what I do. I shoot him in the hip. I shoot him nice, just good shot right in the old fucking hip, so he has trouble walking forever. And I go, now the next one is going to go to your dome. I say dome.
Well, he's already done.
But let me say dome. This is my fantasy, bro. And I go, the next one's in your dome. And my face is just serene, dude. I've been here.
I know why. And then you're like, that guy's locked in. Well, he ain't going nowhere.
You know me,
he's muscular.
You know me and my temper.
Yeah,
gay. I'm 10% gay. I'm going, what do you do to work out? I mean, is that...
Brian's like, I went to slave go and we get a timeshare together.
You're talking about a black guy. I got to say black because maybe he and I meet my wife, you know what happens, you know?
I do the exact same thing. I think most people would do that. It's I don't even know, slavery, call it whatever you want. There's a guy who chained another guy's stopping this from happening.
Yeah, unless it's voluntary and they're into it.
I mean, if a black dude said, stop, safe word's banana, and then the guy goes, oh, sorry. No, but
if I hear a safe word, I'm not going to get involved.
So the point of the question is, if you saw a white man mercilessly beating a black man, and you had the means to stop it, you'd do it. Of course. So the year is 2006. You were born in 1993. You're 13 years old, and you're on Facebook for the first time, and you see a video, and it's of a black man running from the police getting shot in the back. You scroll down, you see another video. It's a black man pleading with a police officer saying, please, I didn't do anything wrong, and the cops telling me to shut up and beating him. You scroll down, you see another video. It's a black guy walking out of a store saying, look, man, I didn't take nothing, and getting tased by a cop. you see nothing but these videos for the next 7 years. So what happened on Facebook was when they switched to their algorithmic feed, they switched to the algorithmic feed because once people got to the point where they had on average 300 pages or friends, the chronological feed was moving too quickly. People were disinterested in most posts that were coming through and weren't paying attention. Facebook said, let's prioritize posts they engage with. Well, what do people engage with? Things that incite emotion. Anger incites more than anything. And so, what do people like? Anger motivates, and justice. Justice makes you feel good. So, when you saw the video of a black man being abused by a cop, you were angry about it. Now, it didn't start with black people being abused by cops. What happened was a variety of websites picked up on this, and they said, police brutality is bad because it's an injustice. It makes you angry, so you shared the video, you shared the article. When they started prioritizing keywords, you had certain websites that would make an article saying police brutality video. Then you'd find racism video. People would be sharing both. Something happened when these early websites like BuzzFeed, Mike.com, and Huffington Post were doing this. They realized, guys, police brutality gets us X views. Racism gets us Y views. When we make a racist police brutality video, we don't get X plus Y. We get X times Y. Yeah. Because the algorithm is exponential. So, why is Mr. Beast always... Even when Mr. Beast makes a bad video, he gets 100 million views. Why is that? Because all of his videos are going to be put on the front page. So why? Because it's an exponential increase. His first videos were so good, they showed more people. Was so good, they showed more people. He's at a point where the YouTube algorithm is basically saying,
It's 30,000.
well, let me get his essay.
I encourage this negativity because that's what kids do.
They encourage everything. So to get as esoteric as I possibly can, I will cite the story arc from Ranma 1/2 in 1987, where Ryoga learns it's called Shishi Hokoda.
Anime?
Indeed it is.
I love it.
So Ryoga is always being beaten in martial arts by Ranma. He gets trapped in a mine, in a cave-in. He has this special move called Breaking Point that can shatter stone. The problem is it keeps causing a greater break-in. A miner in there teaches him an ancient martial arts stick where if you summon all of your negative energy, you can fire it like a power blast. And so he teaches him this move. I think it's been so long since I've seen it. Shishi Hokoda. And Ryoga, feeling depressed, dark, and down on himself, summons this powerful emotion and blows the cave-in out, and they free themselves from the cave. But then he realizes, every time he loses a fight to Ranma and gets depressed, he can channel that energy to blast him and win the fight. So Ranma, getting beaten now, he gets depressed. Now that Ryoga feels good, he can no longer fire the energy blast, then Ranma beats him. Goes back and forth. So Ranma learns...
Because once he starts winning,
he feels good.
He can't get depressed.
Right. So Ranma goes and learns the same technique from a martial arts master, and it's a curse, because two fighters who can only ever summon their strength with depression will kill each other eventually, winning and losing back and forth. Yeah. So Ranma decides to take this technique and master it using the power of pride. Which he does. And then Ryoga gets twin and mass blasts Ranma. Here's the point. I thought it would be funny to tell that story because it's anime. Profound, though. But it pretty much explains why it is always negative. It's extremely difficult to be positive when you're surrounded by negativity, and negativity is so...
I have a theory. I want to hear what you talk about. I have a theory. My optimistic outlook is this. Human beings are incredibly adaptable. And we're in the infancy of this whole strange phenomenon, this echo chamber. Your algorithm lies to you, keeps feeding you the things you already agree with. I think and this is why I'm a free speech absolutist as well. I think people will, especially younger generations, start to, I'm being gamed here. Just like crack, feels fucking great. But at the end of the day, it's going to lead to my. And I think what we're going to start to see is a place where it's authentic, where you're not being gamed.
That's what this is.
That's right.
We are the counter to that. Corporate press was lying. What I will say about the positivity thing is, the point about the Rama story was that positivity is, there were a series of videos where people would feed the homeless. Mr. Beast got big because he did these videos where he'd give waiters $1,000. There's a series of Instagram videos that have millions of views where a guy will walk into, you've seen this event, he walks to a pizza place and goes, "Can I get a slice of pizza?" They hand it to him, he goes, "How much is it?" And they go, $1.75. And he goes, "How much for 10,000? And they go, "What?" He goes, "I'm going to give them the homeless." And then he goes and hands out food to the homeless. Positivity does work. It's just harder to do. And
it's an extreme. Yeah,
negativity is easy. And so, everybody's lying.
Put your phone down until it's not a phone and it's in your head. But that's where the marketplace comes in. And that's when, at the end of the day, you've got to believe in Jesus, everybody.
So come on, break because October baseball's here. It's my favorite time of the season. Dodgers are dominating, baby.
I want to watch.
Yankees suck. But we'll see what happens. Listen, the pressure's on, the lights are brighter, and Aaron Judge is nowhere to be found. Listen, at DraftKings Sportsbook, you're right there in the middle of every moonshot moment. DraftKings Sports delivers the intensity of October with player props, live in-game betting, and odds that can change as fast as a ball flying over the fence. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get paid out 200 bonus bets instantly. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use code FIGHTER. That's code FIGHTER. Return $5 and 200 bonus bets if your bet wins. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Go Dodgers.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem 887-89777. Visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Hill Casino and Resorting Cities, apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Agent eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void and not to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming.co/audio.
This episode is brought to you by Fiscally Responsible Fiscal Geniuses, Monetary Magicians. These are some things people say about the drivers who switch their car insurance to and save hundreds because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, only on their great customer service to help you when you need it. So your dollar goes a long way. So visit progressive.com. See if you can save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty savings will vary all states or situations. I don't know what to say about that.
But in the stuff, you saw Elon go against Netflix, then I see them posted Netflix shares down whatever 1.7 billion dollars. I'm like, is it actually? Is it actually?
I think it is. I think that their stock is tanked.
From Elon?
So
is that
consideration?
Everybody.
So when Disney got boycotted by the liberals over Jimmy Kimmel, they all started jumping up and down cheering about the market loss for Disney. No problem. Amazon had the same market loss. So I'm like, was it really the boycott? In the past 5 days, Netflix is down 4%. They're actually up today 0.4%. They are down for the past week. And Dow Jones, this is today. Dow Jones is down 0.07. Apple's down 0.8, twice as much. Netflix it dropped when Elon tweeted it. But I think it was for sure, if what we're seeing is, I call it the Bud Light effect, maybe. I think the boycott is good. I haven't had Netflix since they had the Cuties scandal. There's actually a challenge, though. I call it the Chinese finger trap problem. If every conservative cancels Netflix, what kind of content do you think Netflix will make? Not content for conservatives and conservative customers. They're going to make more diddling garbage.
I agree. And I think you and I were talking about this. for the most part, they've got a lot of stuff on there, and probably 6 or 7 shows have a couple of scenes where it's like, what are you doing?
There's a show. There's a show called The Order that was on Netflix and it got canceled after 2 seasons for lack of viewership. And it's about a secret society of people with magic powers, and I think werewolves at college. Now you have to wonder, why is Tim bringing this show up in this context? So if that would be the case, what was the ideology of the villain in the final season of this show?
It's a werewolf.
It's a show about werewolves and secret magic users at a college. I think it's werewolves.
Secret magic.
So there's a villain.
Well, so I would imagine it was very anti-Christian.
I don't think that really comes up. The villain of the second season, they're at a college.
Right.
What do you think was his motivating factor in this?
What was the?
The villain's motivation in the second season. Your clues are: I'm bringing this up in the context of trans content on the platform, and I referenced this show with werewolves and magic users at a university. So, what was the motivating ideology of the villain in season 2? I'll give you a hint. He was a professor.
Yeah. So the idea was to teach gender.
In season 2 is a Marxist-Leninist college professor who believes that magic should be given to all people and democratized. He is the villain. He kills and hurts people, thinking that it is wrong that people hoard magic. And I said, I liked the show. It was very fun. And I said, how come conservatives have come out and say, bring back the chastised? See, the issue is they easily complain about the 6 or 7 shows you mentioned with weird garbage, which is fair, sure, but they don't quite say the right thing.
Wow. That was the order. You know, Netflix is kind of a factory. Like, if you have a show, they'll buy it. Like a lot of times, if it's good enough. There's not a lot of ideology.
Here's the sad silverless. Dead End Barrel, which sparked the boycott's been canceled 2 years.
Yeah.
So when people are like, this writer for this show is at Netflix, mocked Charlie Kirk's death. It's like, yeah, he's not at Netflix anymore. He's gone.
Did he get into it? Or
I think he's like the main guy, right?
God bless him. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's the kind of guy that will give.
Guy smokes so much weed and says,
but he's a nice person, and to the point where he has his. I happen to know he had this Vancouver, his house that he and his wife had, and they would just give it to people that couldn't afford it. Like they would just give it to. He's a generous human being. So, but you could be generous and nice and be wrong. That's what we can have the wrong idea. You can still be captured by the wrong ideology, and that can lead to widespread destruction. There's very good people who just believe in equality for all to the nth degree.
So equals 5. Yeah. So, you asked me if I was, again, to go back to the Emperor question. During the period of was commonplace and everywhere, and it was like, as we look at, taking the bus. Order of the day. Yeah, and the thing is, what we get now from us is they don't just say slavery, they say chattel slavery. Because it's a different word, but they don't know what that means. Chattel slavery. Chattel slavery literally means personal possession slavery, which is only distinct upon royal slavery. So it's like, I don't know what you're
And the unique thing would be it was racial in this country, so they say. And for most of the world, it was just if you were vulnerable, and if you didn't come from a nation state, and a nation state could come in, whether you were the Aztecs to a tribe, and you just got taken.
But if you try explaining to a liberal that slavery was wrong, we all hate that, we all agree. Did you also know that slaves were entitled to make money? Some slaves were paid, and not all slaves worked in fields. They'll call you a racist white supremacist. Look at the history.
That's how it was.
Frederick Douglass bought his wife's freedom, right? Because in their mind, you're in a field with no say. That's not actually how it was abhorrent, and it's glad. The funny thing is, if we never declare but much broader than people realize, they seem to think that the argument was there are people people mercilessly beating black people, and it's good. When in reality, the South was like, these people have jobs, they get paid, they're not being beaten in the fields. Like many of them,
6% of actual people owned slaves.
Yeah.
People think it was like 100%. Everyone had it. Less than 3% actually owned slavery.
This is terrible. So now
the irony is, I wouldn't invest in cotton, and now you have all this free labor. That's coming out of this movement.
When I was younger, I was informed cotton gin helped end slavery because it organized cotton seed removal, and that's incorrect.
It's incorrect.
It increased slavery because
for the next 100 years.
Yeah, they had a strain of cotton with too many seeds and they were hard to remove by hand, so it wasn't worth producing. The cotton gin made it worth producing, but they needed hands.
That's right. That's right. How much do we have? Get enough.
We have 5 more minutes.
Oh, we're fine. You know, we have another show at 5.
Okay, because I want to ask you to completely change the subject. Epstein files.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't think there's a list, but where you at?
Not anymore.
Yeah, there was, right?
So So the list is a general term that means like out of all the documents they had names that would implicate people who are working with Epstein.
Yes.
Not that like the FBI had a dossier with everyone's name.
Correct.
So there's a list. It's the Black Book where they've released that already, and we don't know what these people did. Many of them did nothing. The Epstein stuff is a challenge right now. I have a question for you guys. Do you think that prominent Democrat-aligned individuals were trafficking kids and raping them?
No.
You don't think so? No. I mean, Epstein was. He was friends with Bill Clinton.
I think Epstein was a guy who liked them young, to quote Donald Trump. And they might have been 14, 15.
No, they were 9-year-olds. There's one of his pilots.
I don't think. No, there was. So actually, that was the traffic control guy who said.
Right.
Who said we saw girls that seemed to be 14, 15. He was into these. When they looked at it, if you look at in 2008 the case, there were 40 witnesses, many underage. But most of those girls were 15, 16, 17. So there really wasn't any like 9-year-olds. That's actually not. There's no.
I've heard otherwise, but I'm not gonna. I'm not knowledgeable on the issues.
His youngest 14. His youngest 14. What I think,
still very bad.
I always go the least.
Don't be ridiculous. They're 14.
No, that changes. It does not change. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
I was 14.
I have 14, for God's sake. No, so what I'm saying is that he was a piece of shit. My interest is more this, and let me give you my theory and see what you think. My guess is he had to have been working for an intelligence agency. Clearly, Hood Rock has been to his house, covered his face. He had ties to, we know through Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's.
Right.
So he was
probably Mossad.
Obviously, at least a Mossad asset. Is it? So I always think of the Epstein Island as at least a honeypot. So that if they needed it.
Well, so the theory is you'd meet a billionaire at a party in New York. Want to fly my jet to a private island and party all night? Yes. You're like, wow. Yes, I do. This guy's famous. Everybody knows him. You don't know anything. I mean, after 2010, you know, the idea, but this is back in the 2000s. The theory is that you're going to have this like young girl, and he's going to say, don't worry, all the girls are 18 or over, or she's 20, and then you're like, cool. And then afterwards he goes, I lied, she's 16 and I got it on tape. I own you. I'm not entertained. This debate from people like release the list and all this stuff. I'm like, it's meaningless. I've got a question for you guys.
Can I have a gun in this again? The other scenario?
I'll give you one. Do you think that there is some kind of cold civil war or conflict happening between the political factions of the United States?
Well, if you're listening to this, letting us go on for about 2 hours. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast as of now. If you want the full 2-hour interview with Tim Pool, head on over to the Patreon. It's patreon.com/TFATK to get
recognize President. Same evolutionary principles for all of us. So if you look at these numbers, Vortex offered to show area change and it's real sort of stuff. And then coming up to start all over again. Cortex says yes. This is KFI.
Back on the job, Keith and I from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Air traffic controllers are expected to be back on the job at the Hollywood Burbank Airport, and the tower is expected to be fully staffed today. There were no air traffic controllers at the airport. About 6 o'clock off the land.
Airports without control towers, air traffic shut down, but they're being paid. Started calling as FAA facilities experienced staffing issues Monday. Phoenix and Denver, the Controllers Association said it's normal for people to call in sick on any given day, but that would happen Monday shows how rapid the nation's aviation system is. Kathy Trujillo, KFI News.
Gas prices have ticked up a bit following last week's explosion at the Chevron refinery in El Segundo. The average price of a gallon of regular gas in LA County is up to just under $4. In Orange County, gas is averaging $4.70. Experts say bigger increases could be coming. Former USC quarterback and Fox NFL analyst. Sanchez is set for preliminary hearing November 4th. The truck driver involved in the fight is suing 69-year-old Sanchez and Fox permanent disfigurement. A 75-year-old man in Orange County has been sentenced to 4 years in prison for embezzling nearly $6 million from clients.
Last year, a federal judge in Orange County also ordered Montgomery to pay $5.9 million in restitution. He stole the money while working as a senator. Four states have
A low-security lockup reports not only a sequestered family in New York, but it has a correctional drug abuse program said to be the most intensive in the federal prison system. Timmy's lawyers have written a letter making the court takes request. Holmes has been sent